Welcome to Milkshake Monday BackDrop. This is the episode where we're going to be talking about timing is not a coincidence and level up 7 life lessons. And I'm Anita Helm, your podcast host, and Faith Helm. And we are very glad to have you on this episode. So, Faith, what kind of questions you got?
All right. Hello, hustlers and gangsters. No, I'm joking. Breaks the mood. Okay, so we're going to be on level up. Sorry, before we started, I did the whole, mood thing.
So level up just happened this week, okay? All right. And Faith is a little under the weather, and we're appreciating her for doing this because she's just getting back to her.
Did we count? To me, this week says Sunday.
What do you mean by that?
So, that was last week. So last week's level up.
Oh, last week is level up,
yeah.
Right. And then the week before was timing. So we're 2 weeks. You're doing timing is not a coincidence, and you're doing level up, which is last week and the week before.
No.
Oh, there's just something. Oh, yes. Okay. So
yeah, this week and last
week. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so we're doing level up last week, and we're doing this week, which was sting of uncertainty.
Okay, yes.
When you do so many, it's like, I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, I posted. Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Glad you're keeping it together.
Because I was like, you're about to make me confused.
So level up.
So level up. We're going to first start with level up.
Okay.
So, I'm doing okay. I think that's what she asked me to.
Yeah, because she's not feeling well, but I appreciate it. But you were well enough to know the right episodes, and not unlike me.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So in your level up, you talked about or you illustrated one of the values often goes unrecognized, or some of the values that we sometimes see that go unrecognized. The way I'm wording that is not right. I'm sorry. You emphasize the necessity, sorry, I'm going to get that word messed up, of surrounding oneself with factors and individuals who recognize one's true worth. When you mean that, from my understanding is, I'm surrounding myself when I'm leveling up with people who not only are trying to elevate themselves, but we're in the same bracket of, I know my worth, and I know my true worth, they see my true worth, and we're both seeing our true worths together, and we're both trying to uplift one another. Is that what you're...
I think it's close. When I told the story, I think is what you're taking from the very beginning, where there was the story about valuables, I think is where you got that. So what that lesson taught me as a father talking to his son is make sure in life that not only the people around you, but the people who are your employer or your coworkers, no matter what the surroundings, make sure they understand the importance of who you are and that they don't bring you down. They don't put you down. They don't look beyond the gifts and talents that you bring to the table. And because of that, they will continue to help you, like you just shared, elevate and get better. Versus people who are bitter themselves, upset themselves, so they want to always put you down to make themselves feel better. And that's, toxicity comes in a lot of different directions, workplace or in your relationship. So a man that's going to always continue to want to build you and support you versus a partner who wants to tear you down.
And I think when you were saying all that too, to me, there's so many stories within the Bible that have, once they encounter or know Christ, they know their true worth themselves, and not in a way, for me, I can only do an example, when I truly had or got to be in a relationship with Christ, I felt like I leveled up myself with knowing my true worth. Because I think too, when we don't have that, or when we don't have that relationship, I personally, and I'm like, how can I remember this? But when I got baptized in 2016, it was a level up. I knew I wasn't gonna be perfect, but I felt like I leveled up in my true worth. I really am worthy in a sense. I hope that makes sense in your mind and others. But that's how I feel too when I read scripture and I see things like that that you described. But
well, can I say something?
yeah.
When you find that when the devil wants to distance you from hearing the word, reading the Bible, being around Christian people, listening and taking in whether it's the music or encouragement for whatever way you hear it, it's because he wants you to forget that feeling and sense of importance and value and love and that you're treasured by God. Because once you start to have that distance, he can start giving you more insight of how he wants you to feel, which is nothing, and that you don't have a value, and that God doesn't really care about you, and God doesn't think much of you, so therefore don't think of yourself, and nobody cares. And once you start feeling that way, you start to do and have behaviors to kind of have him almost like people want to drink and drug, but something is underneath.
It's like distance.
Yeah,
it's like distance yourself from
your identity,
like
your identity, your value, all the things that he's creeping in your head, which you're saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not important, all these I'm nots. But the more that you spend time with God, you see how precious you are, how far above rubies you are for women, or in men, how he sees you a mighty man, a valiant man. But the devil wants to get you the opposite way because he can destroy you that way.
Yeah, that is very true. You also talked about purpose-driven living. You made it significant in your Level Up episode to understand one's purpose in life. I think that is, I mean, it's hard for a 23-year-old to like really, I mean, purpose in life. But now, too, I've always heard people say, I've heard more now the word purpose in the last 3 to 4 years than I've heard beforehand. But when you say purpose in life, before you define it or go more into it, I looked at purpose in life when people now is proclaiming Christ, being a witness in my everyday life, when I'm at work, even if my fellow coworkers, I don't say like, oh, Jesus like that, but I show them like kindness, I show them love, I let them know that they are loved, I give them encouragement, because I want to be an example, or not example, Christ-like, sorry, that's the right word, Christ-like, went in my mind, Christ-like. And when all my coworkers be like, oh my gosh, you bring so much encouragement, you uplift this office, even when it's dim, dark lights and stuff like that, they say that. But when you say purpose in life, to me, it took me, I think it actually happened when a pastor preached it, of saying our purpose in life as Christians or as believers in Christ, as brothers and sisters of Christ, as brand ambassadors of Christ, all these things that they say, in different preachers saying. I got that at 20, but as a person who's probably younger, a lot of times, or even older, now they say my purpose in life is, to spread joy, to do this. In a sense, it goes back to what Christ's purpose is in our life, like, if that person says that.
When you started talking, it made me think back that when I was in elementary school,
Way back,
because I'm going to tell you that, yeah, you're in your 20s and I'm in my 50s, but back when I was in elementary, the teacher was giving out at the end of the year these little pieces of cardboard, and it wasn't cardboard, it was some kind of paper, and she had written down these things that you would probably call superlatives. These are what she saw. And so...
Superlatives are what you saw?
I see this as your gift, your talent.
Okay.
This is something that I want to give you as a prize, professing how good you were, and this is what she, as the teacher at the end of the school year, saw. So she's giving out all these different things, and I'm not really paying attention all that much because I'm ready to get out of school.
Yeah.
And so she starts describing someone that's always got her desk neat and make sure her pencils are straight and make sure she has her papers together. And she's talking about this person. And she says, Anita Bush, the Organizer Award. And I looked up and I'm getting ready to get this thing. And I was like, okay, I put that on my wall until I was in high school. It blew me away that she thought of me that way. I didn't even know really the big word of organizer. I just like to keep my stuff straight. You know, if I have books there, it wasn't OCD. I just wanted it to be neat because she was going to look at her desk and all stuff. So I think of that. I think about when I was younger and I first got saved, how I wanted to talk to couples. And I was probably 16 or 17 talking to people in their 40s. Yeah. Why couldn't they love one another? Why do they have to talk so mean? Why can't they share? And I would say things. And I keep seeing these traits of what I see in my 50s that as you were talking, I remembered the organizer award. Don't get me understanding why.
Yeah, and it stopped at 12th grade, right? Because it did not continue.
I can be organized. I can be organized. If we take
this computer upstairs to our office, we would have other...
Very true, but I have the ability to be at administration and I can organize things. And, you know, what happens is I am learning not to multitask. That is, I love to multitask. I've got like 7 things going on in my office. So if I could just do one thing, well, but there's multiple parts of my company. Yeah. Okay, but that was the organizer award. Yeah. And then compassion, teaching. I used to teach my dolls. I used to teach stuffed animals. Yeah. So there's things that were, as a little child growing up, that I had it was just in me. I love to do it, even though I was pretending. And now even, I would probably, if you said, hey, there's a group of young adults or a group of women or somebody, could you come talk to them about whatever? Mm-hmm. If God gives me the understanding to do it, I would probably do it. I can't do all these things for free, but I've been teaching for free for all these years because I love it. Yeah. So there's things that are a part of what you would say are your purpose, your direction for where God, I'm breaking down purpose, your direction for why God made you to have the ingredients that have built who you become to help with his divine plan, to help other people know him better. Mm-hmm. And what mine may be may not be yours, but even when you hear people say that you have helped them, that something about you is unique and different, you won't be the same as somebody else they meet that does the very same thing. It's just something how you are packaged internally that comes out to other people and they're blessed by it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly what your purpose is or will be, but God does. And, so.
I think that's really key too, because when you touch on that, I mean, mine went blank. But when you touched on that, I thought of when you said you were little, when you were young and talking to older people who were in their 40s, the Lord was just using your mouth, your tongue to speak to those. And they probably said, I'm not listening to a kid. But I think too now we have to get out like this, I'm talking to a little kid. Sometimes the Lord uses the littlest ones to speak his message to you because you're not getting it. I mean, you're not saying, you're not getting it any other way, but he's trying to direct you and trying to use, he used Anita Helm for that case when it comes to that.
I will say that the adults listen, because I wasn't saying it only from my perspective. I would share with them what I learned from the Bible. And I would say, God's expectations are for us to X. God wants this marriage because he says this. So I wasn't even saying it from Anita's 16-year-old perspective. I was saying, I've just learned, I was just going to be a Christian at 12. So in the 4 years, I had learned about love. I'd seen couples who loved one another when I went place to place that were Christians, and I saw the behavior of what God's expectation does if you listen and follow. So I was sharing with them this anger, this back and forth, this biting and snickering and things that you're doing to one another is not helpful. But why don't you try it God's way? So sometimes, many times I would say, they would listen. Whether they did what I said was a different thing, or what God told them to do, they did listen. Mm.
And listening's key. Listening's key for sure. I think too. Yeah, I think that's really a good thing. You also said, and I've heard this plenty of times too, when it comes to leveling up, the cost of time. We have 86,400 seconds available each day, and you stressed the importance of using our time wisely, and asserting life choices in our lives that could have an altering, or have awareness that could have an altering long impact in our lives. You know, I get on myself too a lot of times. I think a lot of other people probably do too, is I wake up, I go to work, and, you know, now I try to have a routine of reading a scripture a day, or reading a chapter a day from the Bible, you know, giving my time, more time, even the church we attend, or the worship service we attend. I remember they had like a whole month, and they said, you know, there's 86,000 seconds in a day. Like, how are you spending your time with Christ? And it definitely made me convicted, because it's like, I can go, and you also say this all the time, you know, punch in the head, you know, you could watch a Netflix series, you know, 8 episodes, 48 minutes, but you can't give that same time to Christ. And it definitely put a conviction in my heart. It's like, not only for me personally, yes, you're different, because you could watch, you know, videos and stuff like that when it comes to people like, you know, Joyce Meyer, stuff like that. Me personally, I'm like, oh no, I'm not really like, I don't learn best that way. Everyone's different. But to me, how can I implement, or I guess that might be a prayer implement, because I've been praying this too, not only with that, but a mentor, but implement more time with Christ and do it. I'm doing, I shouldn't say I'm doing the best I can, but it's like, you know, my work schedule, but it's like, how can I better myself? Because I do want to learn. I do want to have better comprehension in what I'm reading. But like, how do you think, when people say that, or when you said time wisely, what do you mean by that?
So,
were you tearing up?
I was tearing up because of Tony. One of my cousins died, and I always say, we don't know how much time we have, and every day is precious. 86,400 seconds, and it's not just a matter of time. It's prioritizing your time. Whether you're wanting to have, if you truly want something, you put your mind to do it. If you want to grow in the Lord, if your question is how or what's best for you, that's true. But if you want something, you do it. If I want to lose weight, I won't make excuses for why I can't watch what I eat or exercise or whatever. When somebody wants something truly, when it comes to growing, I realized that when I was driving down the highway, when I was working and I had things in the background that were the TV set or whatever was going on, that was dead time. That if I wanted to say I was so busy, which I don't use the word busy, where are times that I could leverage, that I can learn? And my learning style is hearing and visual. So I said, if I'm driving down the highway for an hour, 2 hours, or 4 hours, or 10 hours, I don't mind listening to the word. I don't mind listening to praise and worship. I don't mind growing. The same as when I'm working. In the background, there could be something going on, and I'm doing my work. But at the same time, I'm listening, because
like this,
it's like this. And even what we're doing here, this helps me grow. Because until we started having these conversations, I didn't know how you thought about certain things. And when I listen to you ask a question or follow up, I get to learn you differently, because yes, we talk a lot about different subjects, but I'm hearing something in a way that I never have heard, and maybe you're listening in a way to receive it differently. But I think that you have to, first of all, prioritize that you want to grow. And then if it's a matter of, if you don't like the YouTube, but you like another means, we find that way. If you're a reader, there are books in our garage that Dad had that, I see them, and I was like, I'm not all the time a reader, even though I'm an author. I don't read all the time. I love to listen, and I can get more, because I have like 6 books that I'm in the middle of, and it's like, finish them. But I get pulled and distracted, but it shows me priority of reading those books are not there. But I'll go back and read Fast and Hard and A Leap of Faith 4 or 5 times so I can be ready. So it's not that I can't read. I haven't prioritized to finish the books that I have read.
I think that's a key word, prioritization in what And I can admit this, like, prioritize. I haven't made it a priority, and that's something I can admit, and I want to, and I know that I will change. I am changing on that, but I think you really hit the dot when it's just prioritizing, because we can prioritize, making meal plans. We can prioritize, hey, I need to go to this event. I need to go to this kickback. But when it comes to taking time, an hour, 2 hours, or time to really just dive deep into his word and really just level up, in a sense, using your title, not Sierra's song, of course, but really just level up. And you did make a good point, Dad's books, that was really key, in how you are not consistent with your own books of reading. But you also said season of life, that we go through various seasons and we have unique blessings and challenges. You use a metaphor that invites us who are watching it, of course, to embrace change and uncertainty as part of our spiritual journey. When you touch that, in a spiritual journey, I've heard this too again, not when we get baptized, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, we're never going to sin again. Like, we're never going to sin again. Mm-hmm. I think that is something that it took me a while after getting baptized for me to be like, yes, I have changed, I have given my life to Christ and stuff, like, given my life to Christ, but I think the challenges that come after it needs to be so much pushed beforehand, because I think for me and my brother, Marcus, when we did it, I asked him on the side, I was like, we had challenges after it that I think no one really talked about more before the baptism. Like, hey, it's not going to be an easy road. Not when you get baptized, you're not going to be peachy clean. And I know you were a teacher, but for a small certain time, we didn't have like now what they're doing in a lot of other worship services, having classes. But I took less of the word success or the word of, blessings more so, and looked at the uncertainty and challenges more so. Hold up, let me just, sorry. The uncertainty and challenges, because to me, that came after giving my life to Christ. Like, the challenges that I faced after, it's undescribed. There's no word, there's no type of like description or like example I can give that could have prepared me for the uncertainty and the challenge that came after. But I wouldn't be where I am now without him with me, or without me being with him, actually, I should say, because even with graduating high school without Joyce dying, like, he was with me. Mm-hmm. Even with like going to college, you guys leaving, of course, like meeting new people, Dad dying, the school situation, like me graduating, me freaking out about what's the next steps, even like within me going to the next steps of getting my job, like freaking out of that, like he was with me. The uncertainty and the challenges of like, a lot of people would be like, or some people give up easily, not go to him. But I had a great foundation that, again, thankfully, that showed that through the uncertainty, through the challenges, I can go to him. Not go, like, I can call my parents and stuff, but going to him, those conversations during my alone time, people would say, I went to him with my challenges, with my uncertainty of why is this happening now? Why is this occurring? Why is this occurring now in my life? Like, like all this stuff you hear, you hear when people say, would you give your life to Christ and stuff like that? It's such a good thing, but they rarely talk about the challenges that are going to be, amongst you in your life. So can you touch on that?
Well, even if a teacher or a parent or somebody who's a mentor in faith talks about what you just described as challenges, mm-hmm. when you hear it, because you haven't walked through it, you won't appreciate it. Yeah. I could tell you 1,000 things about being in a male-female relationship or a marriage, but until you walk it yourself, it won't become real to you. Now, what I will say is that intimacy with the Lord himself comes in doses and daily walks and talks and
Mm-hmm.
breakdowns and challenges and freakouts,
Mm-hmm.
because when you said something that was really key, because you had a foundation to know, go to him.
Yeah.
Not run away from him, but go to him. And no matter how old you are, how many years of your faith walk you have, if you could just get that principle to say, go to him, not away from him.
Yeah.
And even in my prayer life, when I was having the moments where I was a young girl to a grown woman, I had to find my way of, when I say prayer, when I talk to him, I think about stuff, or I go through something and it was a challenge and it was hard and I was frustrated and all those emotions were coming out. I wasn't sharing them with people, but I was sharing it with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how not to be this church person that prays, but this person that always had this open dialogue to say to him, and to find the ways that God would talk back to me, and or share something with me, or give me understanding through the Bible or something. And I see things in life, and I'm always looking, because I say, okay, God, what are you showing me today? And even yesterday, Faith, I drove down that highway and I was like, why am I going here, God? I don't understand it. I already had done something the day before, and I was like, why am I going there? And the whole time I'm going down the highway, got the gas, I was like, I don't know why. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
The timing of this doesn't make sense. I got things to do. Why am I doing that? And then I get the call to say my cousin's dying. And I was like, oh, sorry, God.
Mm-hmm.
I knew there was a reason. I knew there had to be a reason. I just didn't know the reason. And I was going. And I was thinking, but the whole time I was like, I should be back in Woodbridge. Why am I going here?
But not only that, you said also, like, you want to be there for your
Yes,
cousin.
and that's the reason why I said, what would God have me do?
Yeah.
And he said, I want you to be there for her.
Yeah.
And that was why I kept driving, and the traffic got worse, and I said, I'm going there for her. And when she called and said what was going on, I just said, Lord, forgive me, thank you, that in the years and decades that we have learned to communicate him to me and me to yield, because I was frustrated in the yielding, but I was thinking, there's got to be a reason. And when it happened, I was saying, oh, thank you, God.
Yeah.
And you said, it's the baptism is that one act of surrender in the water and coming up. You're not immediately you're a new creation, yes, a new birth, but you're the sanctification, the cleansing, the growing up process, the discipleship, the mentoring, all of those things that God has taken. You don't expect a 2-year-old to know everything a 50-year-old knows. The same when you get out of that water, you won't know that, but in walking with him, walking to him, having both of your hands collapsed together. There was some passage in Milkshake Monday when I said at the end of the book, I said, I'm grabbing hold of his hands and we're walking like two people trusting each other, and he's leading and taking me, okay, we're going here. Where I may say, hey, I say, I'm going here.
Yeah.
Satan has a trap over there, and I've got you go over here. So I'm learning as an older child of God. And I won't say I'm still growing, and you're still growing.
Yeah.
So the person that's 24 now, when you get to be 34, 44, 54, you're going to have some, maybe your own child or people in your life that are going to say, how did you do it? And you'll say something to them, but until they have the going to school, waiting for the job, and the questioning and all that stuff, you can't pour in what they have to live. It's a lived experience day to day with the Lord. So it's a process.
I guess in a sense you can only give your testimony of how you overcame that in this way.
Well, you're going to give your testimony. You can give them truth to tell them that,
or my story, my journey.
Your story and a journey that you got to let young Christians understand. It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's not. We always use this expression, but it's not a quick sprint. It's a marathon. Mm-hmm. And at the end of your life, and yesterday when I saw the end of somebody's life, you want to feel as though, and know, not feeling, it's not feeling, know that you have given everything that you naturally were able to do. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we sin. Yes, we ask for forgiveness. But the life that you, from the time you gave your life to Christ, you really did give it to him, and you wanted to serve and to do, and it wasn't in perfection, but it was in pursuit of trying to prioritize God and what he wanted in your life. You okay? All right. So I'll keep talking so you can have that cough. But I feel for, you had mentioned the young man. I think having a foundation that is lived out, I'm not saying we were super parents, but we were parents that had a walk.
Yeah.
And demonstrated it. And even when we had our trying times, we still were walking in that faith. And sometimes if you don't have examples around you and people who are demonstrating that they're moving and progressing in their walk, it is detrimental. And especially when you go through mental health issues and struggles, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, and I think about that because like I've had my time with like my brother, and I've been more concerned because again it's detrimental when you're surrounded by circumstances and no one's, again, the foundation's not there, but also the push of not saying go to Christ with your issues, is not there. And sometimes for me personally, it's like I want to be the fixer, but it's like I can't be there all the time for that person, or I can pray for that person, but it hurts to see a brother or sister go through anything like that, or go through the challenges and not, have that, and I can't be there, of course, but it's just like, it's hard to see that.
It's hard from my vantage point because there is a level of grief and loss that's not, nobody can take you through your grief journey. That's a personal walk of intimacy with God and the hurts and wounds of that. But you may go through one loss, but imagine 4 or 5 losses back to back to back of people that are really critical. Now, as a grown-up, that's hard. Mm-hmm. As a young boy or girl, young teenager, it's just catastrophic. And Satan wants to destroy you to the point that you're in such grief and sorrow and depression that's why you see a lot of younger people commit suicide, because there's no release valve. There's no foundation. There's no, even Christians struggle. Yeah. But imagine if you don't have that relationship and you see church. It's not church. We are the church. It's that relationship with the Lord helping you to address that pain. Because it is a lot of pain, it's a lot of sorrow, it's a lot of misunderstanding, it's a lot of questioning. And if you're not getting anything but more sorrow, more questioning, and more devastation, it's too much for sometimes a young person to handle without having help, mental health and Christian help.
Yeah, because I even for that young person, like I think about even our own experience with your mom, like her losing her sibling, how that took a toll on her losing her child, like. I've never seen Grandma have emotion, very much, or like a feeling of like the hugs and kisses and so forth. But when she, like, after Yvonne died, she just said, like, my heart is aching. Like, it showed emotion for the first time in my life, 23 years, being at Grandma's house. Hey, Grandma, how you doing? I'm okay. Her just saying that in complete silence, even on Ann saying, like, I just didn't know, like, I wish it was me than her. It's like, I think that's the most I can get out of our family. But sometimes too, our families or our people around us that we live with don't express their feelings.
I had it happen yesterday. We did not want to tell Mom by phone. We didn't want certain people to come tell her. I talked to my sister and I said, let me go talk to her and tell her so that if she does have emotion, I'm there. And my brother called and said, well, how was she? And I said, she took in the news and she showed no emotion. And
in person.
And I got you. I'm just saying. And so she said she didn't want this person to suffer. And I don't know that I showed emotion, because even today it's come and gone. And in the midst of the time being in front of it, I didn't cry. I just wanted to be there to say whatever this person needed, to do whatever I could for the family, but I kept it together. It's like I talked about the ambulance driver. I kept it together, but I wonder, I said, Nita, when is yours going to come? And I keep thinking, I feel like I'm on this, I don't know, I feel like I'm medicated almost.
Yeah.
And I don't
They'll
know when
hit
it's
you,
going to come. But the same with Yvonne. I just felt like, okay, I think Dad just broke me so badly that these others are like aftershocks. The earthquake of what happened with him, these other ones are almost like, I see it, I'm experiencing it, but it's not.
I think everyone will have that one that's like Tyson, Muhammad Ali type of fight. I think, like I always say, like the two biggest hitters for me was on Joyce, like major. Like I think I will always remember that because again, you were there, you comforted me, but like I never cried that much, like where the tear ducts were just like continue flowing. But I think with Dad too, of course. But I think with that being said, sometimes I when the people we're around especially, it's closed doors. I'm more adamant now where I say, let your tears flow in the present time, because I think when you hide that so much, you're putting I think you're putting a facade too of like, I don't want other people to see me cry, but it should be normal to see others cry. I want to make it normalized because, holding that in by yourself is it's just too much. It's just like, I'm 23 and I can't hold water, but it's just like, when you say like your cousin, like, I think you're going to feel that, like everyone else is going to go through their own journey of feeling that emotion when that person passed, just with anybody, your sister, your husband, anybody in your life. But I just think grief is a wave. Grief is a lot of emotion, but I think if anything, grief definitely, it humbles you in ways that I can't be described, can't even be, it goes back to us speaking about, when it comes to our journey as followers of Christ. I can speak to you how it is, but you haven't went through it, but you're going to go through it on your own and you're going to figure that out yourself. But yeah, we took a pivot.
Yeah.
So, let's keep it going. So you talked about the impacts of relationship when it comes to, I'm going to point out some like pointers that you said in Level Up. You said empowered by faith, the impact of relationships, the choices of whom to walk with in life, signifies that relationship as prominent and influence the qualities of one's journey, prompting caution in personal association. And you had growth through learning, emphasizing listeners to adopt a growth mindset and learning from life experience to become a better version of themselves.
I said that. Wow.
Yeah.
Or did you? Okay. So it's me? Okay. It sounded so fancy. It sounded almost like AI. It's like, I said that? Okay.
Yeah, you did. But unless you are AI, no, I'm joking.
No, definitely.
But when you talk about that in concluding leveling up, to me, now with leveling up, it takes time to level up. I feel like, but it also, in leveling up, I not only want to level up with myself, but I want to level up my surroundings. When you talk about those, what I just said, how can I level up my surroundings? Because I've heard this in my family too, of like, and you also saying like, sometimes you're still in the place, you're not leveling up because the people you're around. And you kind of touched on it too, like if you're with people who again don't know Christ, are not willing to Christ, I'm not gonna level up because the surroundings I'm not with. But then I think people would fight back with saying, well, maybe they'll see me and maybe I'll get followers. But it's like, that shouldn't be all on you. Your eyes scrunched up when I said that. But
well, I have to take in what you're saying and figure out what you were asking. So that takes me a moment to understand what you're asking. And when you first started talking, I thought about when you want to make a change, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And people who are introverted or extroverted, all of them have to go through change. So if you wanted to have a different environment, you have to stop doing everything the same way. Mm-hmm. How you find entertainment. if it's been primarily through the phone and information coming this way versus to say, well, maybe I'm going to go to a concert. Well, I don't like ear stuff. So if I don't want a concert, do I want to go into a forum that's smaller? I mean, if I want to go be a part of a book club, or do I want to be part of a comedy show, or do I want to go with singles at a church group and do this, or do I want to find out in the newspaper or on the line what's happening as an event? But if you do the same thing the same way, you're not changing. And if your people that you have been hanging out with are comfortable, then are you going to find another group, a smaller group, 1, 2, 3 people that maybe you invite into your group, or you go to somebody else's group and be the next new thing of that group? But you have to find out, what is it that you are interested in? What do you want for the new relationships you're going to have? If it's male, if it's female, if it's a diversity of groups, if you want to learn a new language, if you find yourself, I'm making up a crazy example, you love to watch foreign films. There are foreign films that are played at movie theaters. Mm-hmm. There may be other people that want a group of people that love to watch foreign films. I mean, there are just things that you want to learn the language of the foreign films you're predominantly watching. There are ways to get in a group to learn that language. So I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out spitballing here to say that if you want to have a change, you have to do something different that is maybe outside the lane of your comfortability. Yeah. But it's your choice. It's a priority of if you want to meet new people. You can't meet them inside this house, inside your room. And I go places because it interests me. It's not so much. I every time I go to a new place to speak, it's new people. I'm going to South Africa, and most people say, "Oh, I'm bothered by that because I'm not going with a group of my friends. I'm going with a group, so I'm safe. It's going to be nice, and I'm going to meet probably 100 new people. 10 days, Mama going to meet some people. Yeah. So I'm going to expand my network and environment and new friends, and the same as when I went to the different retreats. I grow that way. People help me grow. Yeah, and I get that. I saw the nudge of what you were saying about that, getting out the house. That's something that it's definitely a work in progress, for sure. But see, because we brought it up, you go incredibly early. You get up incredibly early. So the tendency to want to come home and rest, do your little thing, then go back to watching whatever you do, and then go to bed, and then get up and start over again. So in the course of that, you probably have to make a change. It's not easy. You used to say, how did you be a mother or wife of this and do all that stuff? But I knew even getting out earlier, okay, what's the priority for my day? I know I had to work 8 hours. I know I want to take care of my kids. I know I want to take care of my husband. But I looked at a day and say, what can I do? I got to rest. And if you don't rest, your body's going to feel fatigue. If you don't take care of your body nutrition, you're going to feel. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do to make changes that will ultimately change even the people that you hang out with. I know it's a way around that. Sorry. No, it's good. I just know it's of course it's work. I'm more or less on. I'm less on the uncomfortableness. It's just I know that that's going to take work and that's going to take changes. But I'm trying to figure that out within my own life, like where everyone else is. Yeah. But as we wrap up, we're gonna wrap up, level up, and then twitch out to. Yay! Okay. And then we're gonna press it, and then we're gonna start over. Oh, well, yay! I like that. Thank you. We were debating, just so you know, we could do 2 in 1, but I wanted to do 2 separate because then I can have one in the bank, and we can just bring them out. And if I have to go out to travel or something, if Faith has a scheduling conflict, we'll always have the multiple ones as opposed to 2 in 1. So. I'm really glad about that. Okay. Yeah. So, are you going to do the wrap up of the? Okay. So, I just wanted to let you know that things are happening with both books. We're getting ready to go to Decatur, Illinois. By the time you see this, you see how she's excited. I'm excited. Are you being funny? It's a joke. Oh, I am driving because I had to look at the whole thing about. Okay, let me get some. Decatur, Illinois from Virginia is 12 hours. when you look up the flight information, it's a 6 hours with a stop, and you have to be there 2 hours early. And I was like, I could have driven, 12 hours and been there and not go through all the stuff and have a vehicle there and be able to maneuver as I want to. So anyway, on June 11th at MacArthur High School, we are going to be in Decatur, Illinois, and we're going to have 2 hours where we're going to basically read some of the books, take questions, and have book signing there. So Matt and I will be there. Mike is not able to attend. He had other obligations, but we're excited for that. And for A Leap of Faith, A Life Filled with Questionable Choices, when I went to Pennsylvania up to White Sulphur Springs, I left them both books to see if they are willing to have both of these books at the Christian Center there, and I'm waiting to hear back from that. And I just finished for Mother's Day. I got a gift of my speakers package, so I will be forwarding the speakers packages to different people who have interest. And I'm excited about A Leap of Faith and Fast and Hard, and we have a filmmaker that's interested in making the book a movie, and we're all going through all of that right now with lawyers and money and
how that can get.
So so buy the book so we have what we need. Buy both of the books. They're $45 as a bundle on Force Store, and we love you. And this is going to end Level Up, and we're so grateful for you all being here. And we're going to be on we're going to be on a podcast coming up, and I'll tell you more about it once Faith agrees. But we're going to be a guest on a podcast coming up on May 27th.
Goodbye, hustlers and gangsters.
Goodbye. I'm coming up. Somebody's going to tell us how to close this thing easier.